You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. So we left off at.
Where did we leave off?
Wherever
Hanukkah. The people.
Hanukkah.
All right.
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah it is. Okay. Does anybody know the story of Hanukkah?
No.
Okay. Does anybody guess? Yep. All right, so we'll talk about the story of Hanukkah. So, Hanukkah is a holiday, if you guys remember, it happens somewhere near the time of Christmas. And if you've ever seen them light candles on a little something called a Hanukkah, do you guys know what I'm talking about at all?
Does that make candles?
Yeah. So, Hanukkah, the reason we have this holiday of Hanukkah is there was many years later after this little Moses situation, the Jews were in an area of town, and these conquerors tried to come in and take over the area. And so they came in and they destroyed all of the Jews' holy temples and put all of their idols in their statues of their idols and their gods in the temple. And they also said that all the Jews, they couldn't practice Judaism anymore. They had to conform to the lifestyle of those people. And so the Jews had their rights taken away from them, and
Excuse me. Gazardo, leave. Bye.
Leaving without permission again?
Tell your mom you want to stay, Haley.
see you later.
Tell your mom tell her to welcome me.
Have a good
Thanksgiving. Bye, Haley.
Bye.
Bye, Haley Gazardo. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Goodbye.
See you on Tuesday.
Okay, so the Jews had all their rights taken away, and then they thought, we got to do something to fight back. So they formed a Jewish army called the Maccabees. Have any of you ever heard of the Maccabees? Okay, so these Maccabees wanted to fight against the people that were oppressing them. And so the Maccabees were fighting, and they were way outnumbered, and they didn't have nearly as many weapons, and they were really the underdogs in the situation, similar to the Michigan-Ohio State situation that's going to happen this Saturday. So they were underdogs in the situation, and they fought back. And so they went into a temple and saw that they had destroyed everything in the temple and put up all these idols and put graffiti on the walls and all these terrible things. And so the Maccabees started to clean the temple and make it nice again and make it holy again. And so they used it kind of as their place where they would kind of hide out and wait for the next attack that they were going to do. And so they were cleaning the temple, and they were looking for oil to make a fire, to light a fire, to make a lamp. And so they were going through all the rubble, and they found this very tiny bit of oil. And so they thought the oil was only going to last them one night. And they were worried because without being able to create a fire, they would maybe freeze to death, or they would be in trouble, they wouldn't have any light. So they prayed to God and hoped for a miracle. And so that little tiny bit of oil actually lasted them 8 days and 8 nights. So they were able to survive and defeat the other army. So that is the miracle of Hanukkah, and it's why we light things all the time. We light the candles to remember that, to remember those 8 days and 8 nights. And the other thing is on Hanukkah, we eat things that are fried in oil because of the oil that lasted for the 8 days and 8 nights. So we eat something called latkes, or potato pancakes. Has anybody ever heard of that? Huh? You know what they are? They're potato pancakes. They're very good. We fry them. Other people eat donuts because donuts are fried. So we eat a lot of fried things on Hanukkah to celebrate that miracle. The other thing is it's a very celebratory holiday, very joyful. So you get a present. All the kids get a present every single night of Hanukkah to help celebrate. So 8 nights, 8 presents. The other thing we do is we play a game with a dreidel. Does anybody know what a dreidel is? What's a dreidel? Yep, you got it, exactly. So it's like a little game where you top spin something, and depending on what side the dreidel lands on, that tells what you're going to do with the game. But all the kids that are playing, they play with something called gelt. which is chocolate. It's like chocolate but made in the form of a coin, and it's covered in like a gold aluminum, so it looks like a coin. And they bet the coin, the chocolate coin in, and then you spin the dreidel, and whatever the dreidel lands on, you either get half of all the chocolate in there, all of it, none of it, or you split it all the different ways of everybody who's playing. So that is the holiday of Hanukkah. Any questions on that? Yes?
What are their colors?
What colors?
The Hanukkah.
The Hanukkah colors? So usually blue and white. Yes?
I was gonna say that it was blue, white, or silver.
Yes, you got it, exactly. Any other questions? Okay. Do you guys have another holiday you want to talk about? Yes?
Passover.
Passover is the holiday that we talked about when the Jews left Egypt. So we talked about it before break. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes?
It's like, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like Shabbat or something.
Shabbat, yeah. So, very good. Shabbat happens, Shabbat is like one of the most important holidays. Shabbat happens every week. So every week we have Shabbat, and it's also, you might know it as the Sabbath, okay? So our Sabbath starts Friday at sundown, and it goes Saturday to sundown, okay? Every week we have Shabbat. And there's some very important things that you do and do not do during Shabbat. So, on the Sabbath, what are you supposed to do? Does anybody know?
Not turn on any electronics.
Yeah, what else? The Sabbath is our day to rest and relax, right? So, on Shabbat, when Shabbat is about to start, we light 2 candles called the Shabbat candles to commemorate the beginning of Shabbat. And then we have a big meal every week with our family. Everybody gets around the table, shares what happened that week, what good things happened, what bad things happened. And so the other thing is the people that are very, very strict, who keep the Sabbath very strict and follow all the rules, you're not supposed to do any form of work. Now, how do we know what work means? So there's all these definitions of work that the rabbi tells us. Yes?
Like nothing physical.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do anything like a job related. Anything else? What else do you guys think of as work?
Cooking.
So you can still cook on the Sabbath because you're supposed to think of cooking like being able to share a meal with your family. What else? Anybody else? Forms of work? Yes.
Like most of the time you get up, clean your house and do all this fancy stuff.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you want to stay away from that kind of work. So the other, yes?
What about exercise? What's a form of work?
You can exercise. You can exercise. It depends on how you look at it at work, or exercise, I suppose. So, things that you're not allowed to do, so at least for Jews, the people that are very, very Orthodox Jews, which means the Jews that keep all the rules very strictly. So, they're not allowed to drive on Shabbat. So, if they want to go to temple, they walk. So, it's very important for somebody who's going to follow the religion very closely to live in close proximity to a temple so that they can walk. So the area of Cleveland, where I'm from originally, has a lot of Jewish people in that area. And there are temples very, very close, lots of them. And so on Saturday afternoon or on Friday night, if you go outside, you can see lots of Jews walking to temple. So you're not supposed to drive on Shabbat. The other thing you're not supposed to do is exchange money. So you're not supposed to buy anything on Shabbat, okay? Yeah, I know. You don't watch TV or do electronics like you said on the Sabbath. Anything else any other rules that anybody knows for the Sabbath? Basically, on Shabbat, you're supposed to spend time with your family, reconnect with them, eat together, joke together, and be with each other so that one person isn't in front of the TV watching TV and eating, and this person's not here, and you're not on your cell phone being distracted. Everybody comes together, okay? So, what else do you guys want to talk about? Holidays, or do you guys want to talk about food?
Food.
Food? Yes.
Do you guys wear anything special on Shabbat or do anything wear different?
So there's certain things that Orthodox people, so what does Orthodox mean? Do you guys remember? Yes,
They follow the rules very strictly.
yes, correct. So the Orthodox people, the women, they dress all the time, not just on Shabbat, but they dress modestly. So what does that mean? That means that they don't have very, very low-cut shirts, they don't have spaghetti straps, they don't have short skirts, they have to be very modest in their dress. Do you guys understand what I mean by that? The boys wear a very special hat on their head. Does anybody know what it's called? It's called a yarmulke or a kippah. You might have heard it be called that. Okay? Why do the boys wear this on their head? Does anybody know? They wear this on their head to remind them, to keep them nice and humble, to remind them that God is always above them, watching them so that they live their life correctly. And it also means, like, you're not the highest, okay? Something is above you, so it is supposed to keep you nice and humble, okay? Just the boys wear it. Any other questions on that? Yes?
Then hat that the boys wear, it kind of looks like a bowl.
Yes, it does kind of look like a bowl. You got it. Any other questions about that? Okay, so let's talk about food. So, there are certain foods that are kosher and certain foods that are not kosher. Does anybody know what kosher means? Has anyone ever heard of that? Maybe you heard of kosher hot dogs. Yes, do you know?
Approved by Jewish rules.
You got it. Smart guy. Anybody know what some of those rules are? To make something kosher or not kosher?
Can't have like, what is it, pork in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, so that's one of the rules that has to do with being kosher is, so Jews are not supposed to. Now, you'll find that some Jews do, because like any religion, some people follow it more strictly, some people don't follow it as strictly. But for instance, pork is not kosher. So as a Jewish person, you're not supposed to eat pork. So no bacon, no ham, no pepperoni, no sausage, none of that. So I've never had bacon in my life. I've never tasted what pepperoni tastes like.
What? It's good.
I've had turkey bacon and turkey pepperoni, but not regular.
Ah.
All right, does anybody know any other rules about kosher? Okay, so I'll tell you some. So why is a pig not kosher? Do you know why? It's okay if you don't, it's very, yes.
Because they believe like you're eating your Uncle Jim.
That's not, that's not.
That's what she doesn't remember.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Isn't that they're unclean or something?
Bacon.
It's bacon. Okay, so why is pork not kosher? Yes,
It's because you reincarnation or something.
so that's a different religion. That is, I think, Hinduism. That's why they're vegetarians.
I don't eat Uncle Jim.
They don't eat Uncle Jim. You got it. Okay. The reason that pork isn't kosher, so in the Old Testament, in the Bible, there are certain rules about food that are outlined. And so one of the rules is that if you're going to eat like an animal, that animal has to have two criteria. One, it has to have a cloven hoof. Do you know what a cloven hoof is? It's like a split toe like this, okay? It has to have a cloven hoof, and it has to, what we call regurgitate its food, okay? So, for instance, an example of an animal that we can eat because it meets those two criteria are cows. Cows have a cloven hoof, and a cow also has multiple stomachs, so it regurgitates and re-swallows its food, okay? Come in.
Safety around here.
Got it.
So is a camel?
A camel is not. A camel has a cloven hoof. A camel has a cloven hoof, but doesn't have multiple stomachs to regurgitate its food. Also a pig